we can move on. Caleb Plant fought Feigenbutz on Saturday on PBC on Fox. And Rob, I'm so glad I can just feel safe saying that because, man, did this guy do nothing for the entire fight. I mean, Caleb Plant dominated this fight in every single way. The only issue I had was that it took far too long to sort of theoretically get the finish. But I don't care about that because Caleb Plant's not really a knockout artist. So that, you know what I mean? Like, it's not as much of an issue. He was clearly trying to get Feigenbutz out of there for a while and just kind of couldn't because Feigenbutz was tough and durable, but he just wasn't good at anything else when it comes to boxing. I don't have much to say about this performance because, again, it's Vincent Feigenbutz, but it is what it is. I want to see Caleb Plant versus Dave Benavidez next. I know it's not happening next because we're going to get to it, but I just want to see Caleb Plant fight good competition. You know, maybe a Durrell brother can jump in here and fight him. You know, Andre, Anthony. I know Andre looked really good in his comeback fight. So have him fight someone that we care about and know. And that's actually like a credible top 15 fighter. Like, that's all I really want to see from talented fighters is to fight other talented fighters.
Fight Canelo Alvarez. Now, I will get into that later. But look, I want to talk about Caleb Plant's performance because it was great. It was spectacular. Okay? I think Caleb Plant is a great talent. Can we put this in perspective? Because I'm hearing old things now. He's the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. He's the next this, that. Okay, look who he fought. He fought a guy who got stopped by a dude named Giovanni De Carolis. Okay, that's who he fought. Your competition matters. Caleb Plant fought a tomato can. Now, I do want to say this about Feigenbutz. He came to win, right? He came to fight. He didn't just show up to get a paycheck. He tried. He fought to win. But he was so outclassed and so outmanned. And so, I mean, there wasn't a level between, there were like 10 levels between these two guys. And, look, he was tough and he wanted to win. So he lasted. And I think the stoppage was great by the ref, by the way, because, I mean, he could have let it went on longer, but it was like enough. Like, if the corner's not going to stop it, I'm going to have to stop this now. Because that was so one-sided and so bad, right? And Caleb Plant's got good snap on his punches. Like, you can see that. He can finish guys. So I'm glad he just didn't do a Billy Joe or what we complained about with Andrade in the past and just sit there and beat him. He went in there and got rid of him. It took long, but he's not a knockout artist, right? But he got him out in the 8th round, 9th round? What round was it?
I forget exactly. I was logged out of BoxRec right now. So.
There was nothing bad about Plant's performance. It was spectacular performance. I'm just saying, let's not go overboard and crazy because he shined against a guy named Feigenbutz who got knocked out and stopped by a guy named Giovanni De Carolis not that long ago. I mean, this opponent was ridiculous. This is worse than Ocampo.
10th round, by the way.
Round.
I don't know if it's worse than Ocampo. Ocampo's done nothing, did nothing, and we haven't heard about him since. So it's about comparable to my.
He never got stopped by dudes who had done nothing. He got stopped by a guy who's no good.
He also only had half the amount of fights that this dude had. You know, from a pure like statistical perspective, like if you fight 30 plus times and you're not good, you're probably gonna take an L. If you fight 10, 15 times and you're just kind of not good, you can win 10, 15 fights in a row in Tijuana or wherever he was fighting from in Mexico. Like, that's completely possible. I know plenty of local fighters that have gone to Mexico and collected a good 5-10 fights in a row in a year to beef up their resume. Like, that does happen actually quite often.
The thing I do give to him was he was like, we talked about Solomon when he fought Virgil Ortiz. Like, after the first round, Solomon's like, I'm out of here. I'm just going to try to survive. Feigenbutz wanted to win that fight. He gave it his all. He just, it just levels and levels and levels to this.
To your point about the criticism of the public reaction post this fight, my criticism of it is simple. Look, if you're hyped about Caleb Plant, this performance should not have done anything to change that. So if you're really hyped about him before the fight, you're probably the same, and you're just going to be talking about more because he fought this weekend. If you're now saying he's a great boxer and he's pound for pound level boxer and he can beat Canelo, when before Saturday you weren't saying that, that's when it's an issue. So I really have no issue, Gary, with people that are big fans of Caleb Plant banging the drum about him post the fight. I get it. He looks spectacular. He is a spectacular fighter. And if you're hyped about him, you're going to continue to be hyped about him. It's only the people that switch. Like, that would make no sense. That's where I would have an issue with it.
Yeah, if you didn't pick him to beat Canelo yesterday or 2 days ago,
and now you do. Like that would make no sense.
Weird. Yeah, because what do you think Canelo would have done to Feigenbutz? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Rob, thoughts on Caleb Plant's performance here? Because we're gonna get into right after you give your thoughts on his performance, the Canelo offers and such. Actually, no, we won't get into that yet. We're gonna get into that later on. Apologies. But thoughts on Caleb Plant's performance?
Yeah, no, he done everything bar get him out of there really quickly, right? He, like Gary said, absolutely levels and levels apart from Fegan. But I mean, this is just again emphasizes the just shitness of sanctioning bodies, and that guy was a mandatory challenger for the world title shot. That's just how it is. I'm afraid that's how our sport is. You know, I saw loads of people saying, "Who the fuck? Where did he get this guy from? Who the fuck is this?" And then people are like, "Yeah, it was actually his mandatory," and they're like, "Fucking hell!" Like, no way. It's just that's the shame of it. But yeah, if anything, Feigenbutz lasted a little bit longer than I thought. I thought he would go. I thought he would be tough and like stick it out. I thought he'd go a little bit more for the kill than he did, and really blow himself out, and then sort of an exhaustion stoppage with Caleb Plant landing multiple shots in combinations and just sort of, like you say, wave the right flag. But he kind of did that with sort of shelling up, and he didn't know where shots were going to come from, and he just tried to make himself a smaller target as possible, right? I know in the post-fight press conference, Caleb was asked, why didn't you go to the body a bit more? His coach was saying, well, look, he made himself, you know, he tucked the elbows in pretty good. He was a difficult guy to kind of get out, but he was happy enough. He didn't have any issues. He said, well, maybe mix up the jab a little bit, you know, some to the chest, some to, you know, mix it up a little bit. But other than that, he was absolutely flawless. And, you know, he eventually got the stoppage, and you know, a big crowd in the hometown. They were happy, I think. But yeah, let's just, like Gary said, you've got to take into account who is across the ring from him in the opposite corner. He maybe carried a threat with some power, but he just couldn't get off any shots. Caleb Plant's just way too good, way too slick. And yeah, well, I guess we're going to talk about what's next for Caleb Plant, but yeah, I don't know where you want to go next with it.
Well, I want to briefly touch on. Oh God, I was sending a text and I forgot what I was going to say. Damn it! Shout out to my kid being babysat right now. What was I going to say? I forget. But let's talk about briefly the co-main event. Brian Perella losing to Abel Ramos. I know that was a huge point of contention for the boxing community. Was the Meldrick Taylor-like stoppage at the end with a second left? I'll be honest. First off, I don't know Tennessee's rules in particular when it comes to if you're saved by the bell. In terms of the unified rules of boxing, you're not saved by the bell. So if Tennessee's under the unified rules of boxing in the U.S., then there's nothing wrong with what Jack Reese did in terms of that. In terms of the whole sobriety test, so to speak, that he was asking of the fighters, I have no issue with that as well. I have no issue with referees or officials checking the cognitive abilities of fighters in the ring to make sure that they're able to fight, because we've had a lot of tragic incidents in the last year or two that I think should make it very obvious that we should be more aware of fighters. Hey, if they're not there, if they're truly concussed, they should be saved. The ref should save them from themselves. And Brian Perella was stumbling as he was doing that test. Also, just want to briefly mention, this was a good fight. A really good fight. Also, the Austin Delay fight was a really good fight against Diego Madaleno as well. Unfortunately, the Rashid Warren fight was untelevised. Also, there was another fight that was untelevised. I think it was the Leon Lawson fight was untelevised as well. Unfortunate. I really wanted to see those. But guys, thoughts on the stoppage in the Brian Perella Abel Ramos fight? Is it controversial? Do you guys have any issues with Jack Reese's performance, so to speak, that night? Thoughts?
I thought me and you were going to go back and forth on this. I thought you were going to hate it.
No.
I was fine with it. I thought it was a good stoppage. Anything, I probably would have stopped it after the first one because he looked out after the first knockdown. When he let him continue, if he gets hit with anything big, I'm stopping it. And he got dropped again. Like I think if anything, Reese let it go on too long. No, I have no problem with the stoppage. I don't want to hear 3 seconds. He's not the timekeeper. Okay, it's not his judgment. Well, if I let this fight go on, will he get caught with another big shot? You know, is he sitting there like waiting to load up like Jamel did with what was it the game? Jorge Cota, when he's just like loaded up and ready to knock his head off. I can't let that happen on my watch, right? The fight was over. Pereira couldn't continue. I don't care how much time was left on the clock. That's not the ref's job. So shout out to Jack Reese. I think he did a good job. I know the haters are going to hate because Pearl probably had the fight won on points, although I thought the fight was more competitive than they were suggesting it was. But, you know, Pearl is probably up on points. But I don't know how a 10-7 round would have scored after that. He still probably wins, but
he was up on points on all 3 judges' scorecards.
Up by more than 3? Because that's
significant.
Okay. Then he's
two of the scorecards were 88-83.
So he wins that. But I said the same thing about Taylor Chavez. Like, well, if you throw in a 10-7 round, does Chavez still lose? I don't know. Like, I thought that fight was more competitive than everyone said it was. But no, I have absolutely no problem with the stoppage. I think the stoppage was late, if anything. But it certainly wasn't too soon. And the fact that there were only a couple seconds left is irrelevant. That's not Jack Reese's job. He's not timekeeper.
Agreed completely, Gary. Rob?
Yeah, I think unanimous decision across the board. When's that ever happened?
Especially on a topic that seems to get everyone upset. But then again, like, people hate Jack Reese right now, which I don't get. Otter Fury, I get it. I know.
Long count, giving Fury time to, but look, he's consistent. I think in that instance, he said, like the 10 count is to get up by the count, by the count of 10 or something like that. So if you get up on 9.9, and then I check you out, you're good to go. And he afforded everyone that he referees sort of the same, like you say, the sobriety test, walk that way, come back. And he felt that the fighter wasn't in a fit state. That's his job. Not that there was 10 seconds left, 2 seconds left, 1 minute left, whatever. His job is to protect the fighter. And he did that,
I want to add the fighter, Brian Perella, clearly had no issues with it. His trainer did. Because, I mean, the video of him yelling at the ref in the corner was quite...
I know, man, but that's...
Brian Perella was gone. His eyes were in the sky. He had no idea where he was at. No, there was no reason to continue that fight, even for 1 second or whatever it is, or to allow the clock just to go off for him to win the scorecard. Like, that would be bullshit. That'd be unethical.
What kind of referee is like, right, there's only 10 seconds left. This shit, he's getting a pasting, but he's up on points. Oh, I'll just let it go. Are you going to live with yourself if he takes...
Was it Sean Nam, a Boxing Junkie, interviewed him?
It was Boxing Junkie. I don't know if it was Sean Nam, but it's Boxing Junkie.
I'm going to assume it's Sean Nam because I think he's like one of the only guys at Boxing Junkie.
Shout out to Jack Reese as well, talking to the media.
Yeah, and he's saying, look, I'm between a rock and a hard place here. If I let it go on and the A side wins the decision, I am looked at a certain way. Okay? If I stop it too soon, I still get criticism. I'm going to do what's the rules. I'm going to do what's right. And he did that. I have no issue with what Jack Reese did. And people bringing up the whole say by the bell rule, like that's such an antiquated rule that's not even used in any major boxing fight. I should say this. If you're watching a televised boxing fight, there is a 99.99999% chance it does not have that rule. It just doesn't. It's a very old rule.
I wanted to add, when Rob said that, what's the ref supposed to say? You're up on the scorecards, maybe I shouldn't stop it. First of all, the ref shouldn't know, right? Because the ref takes the card from the judges and hands it straight to the scorekeeper. So the ref shouldn't know. Like, he shouldn't be keeping a tally in his head or looking at the scores. But there was a situation when Marquez fought, I forget who Marquez fought, but it was in Houston, and Dickie Cole was the ref. And Marquez got a butt, right? And he said, if you wanted me to stop the fight, you're up on points. It'll go to the scorecard. You're up. He got suspended, but Lawrence Cole was the ref. And you guys may know Lawrence Cole because he's the worst ref ever. His dad, Dickie Cole, was the head of the Texas Commission. So which is why he's allowed to ref again. But HBO, it was on HBO. HBO picked up the cameras. You could hear it's like if you want me to stop the fight, you're up on points.
I forgot about that.
Damn.
And
But yeah,
also,
no, I got no problem with it.
quickly, also great example of the nepotism and commissions and how that is a driving issue with commissions and regulation in this sport, including probably UCAD and BBFC. Like, it's probably the same issue there in terms of nepotism, just being honest. I don't know that for a fact, but I know for a fact, obviously, in the US, there's countless examples like that one. Never mind, I can't even begin to describe how that's just a conflict of interest. 92 Crew saying Marquez versus Juan Diaz. I think you're right. I think it was Juan Diaz. Let's move on.